You've seen them out here. Trucks with brand new DOT numbers, strange company names, and logos you've never heard of. They look American, they got US plates and insurance, but here's the truth. Many of these carriers aren't really American at all. They're shell companies. They're fake US carriers. They're secretly controlled by foreign outfits from Canada, Mexico, and Eastern Europe, and they're using our system against us. They're hauling domestic freight, they're dodging taxes, and they're driving down rates for every honest driver out here. This is the hidden scam that is destroying U.S. trucking. A shell company looks legal on paper. It's registered in the United States. It has an EIN, employee identification number, a DOT number, insurance, and authority. But behind the scenes, it's nothing but a front. It's a fake company used by a foreign carrier to haul American loads under a U.S. flag. That's created to hide foreign control, and that's where the scam starts. Here's how it works. A foreign trucking company, maybe in Canada, Mexico, or somewhere in Eastern Europe, wants a piece of the American freight market. But by law, they can't haul loads from one city to another. That's called cabotage, and it's illegal. So they form a new company in the U.S., often in Illinois, Texas, New York. They register it under a cousin's, a friend, a business partner who lives here legally, and that company gets a DOT number, insurance, and U.S. authority. Now, on paper, it's an American carrier, but in reality, it's the same foreign company running the show, just wearing an American mask. So here's the trick. The trucks are purchased in the United States, sometimes with money wired from abroad. Then they're titled under the foreign parent company. Then those same trucks get leased to the new American LLC on paper. Example, Eurofreight Group Europe leases truck to EF Logistics LLC USA. That lease makes everything look legal, but it's fake. It's the same people leasing trucks to themselves to disguise who really owns and controls them. It's all smoke and mirrors. The trucks stay here, the money and the control stay over there. Now, people always ask me, is it illegal if your dispatcher's overseas? Yes, it is. And let me explain to you the reason why. And I know this happens a lot with companies. U.S. law says that carriers holding the DOT number must have actual control of its trucks and its drivers. This means your dispatch, your safety, your day-to-day decision makers, it all must come from inside the United States. If your dispatcher sitting in Canada, Mexico, India, Eastern Europe, telling drivers what to do inside of America, this is what regulators call foreign control. The FMCSA doesn't care where your truck is parked at. They care where the brain of your company is. If that brain is overseas, you're not a U.S. carrier anymore. This is what we call cabotage fraud. It's plain and it's simple. And when something goes wrong, your insurance is not going to back you, and the FMCSA can pull your authority overnight. Bottom line, U.S. freight must be run by U.S. controlled companies. Anything else is just a shell. In most of these setups, the dispatchers, the accountants, the managers, they've never set foot in America. They're sitting thousands of miles away, booking U.S. loads, controlling drivers, and moving money back home. Many of these companies have American bank accounts. They're paying drivers the right way. But some of these drivers are getting 1099 paychecks through Zelle, Wise. Even worse, they're being paid directly from overseas accounts. That means no payroll taxes, no workers' comp, no oversight, and this is why 1099 is abused so much. And look, I'm not against 1099 if it's done the right way. The other problem is when a crash happens, some of the insurance companies say, look, the real operator isn't even in the country, the claim is denied. And guess who all that responsibility goes on to? You, the driver. Now, this is one of the most important parts of the videos that I do not think drivers understand at all. Some of you maybe, but I think for the majority of you, you don't, because I catch a lot of you working for these fly-by-night trucking companies. So when a major crash happens, the insurance company reviews the policyholder, okay? And what they look for is to see who supposedly is operating that truck. If they find that the dispatch and the control comes from overseas, or that these are leased trucks owned by a foreign entity, if the United States company was only a paper front, then the insurance argues this company misrepresented material facts on the insurance application. Guess what? Automatically, it's insurance fraud and it voids the coverage. So they deny the claim entirely. What happens next? Now there's still a wreck, there's damaged cargo, fatalities. Someone has to pay, so where does it go? The U.S. shell company is usually undercapitalized. So there's no real assets, no property, no cash. So even if the court awards damages, they can't collect. The LLC goes bankrupt and disappears. That's why you see this all the time. The foreign company, if they're outside of U.S. jurisdiction, unless they're under an international treaty, a U.S. lawyer willing to chase them across borders, it's practically impossible to hold them liable. And when I say practically, it's it's nearly impossible. So sometimes injured parties or lawyers can go after the brokers or the shippers that hired the carrier. They argue that the broker failed to vet the company properly, so the liability climbs up the ladder even higher. And that's why brokers are terrified to death of some of these setups. And here's the bad part for the drivers. When everything else collapses, the drivers become the last man standing. Even if the driver had nothing to do with the ownership structure, if they were operating under a false or fraudulent carrier authority, if they're driving an uninsured vehicle after a denial policy, what it can mean is they can go after personal liability for damages if they were classified as a 1099 contractor coming after you, okay? Loss of CDL, you can lose your CDL, civil penalties, and potentially criminal charges if it's proven that they knew about the fraud. It's not always automatic, but in many cases, the driver is left stranded and unprotected. So the bottom line, when insurance denies coverage because of a fake U.S. shell company, nobody's properly insured. The real owner hides behind international borders, the paper LLC folds, the broker claims ignorance, and the driver, the person behind the wheel, is the one who gets dragged through the legal mess. That's why this issue is so dangerous for truck drivers. They think they're running under a U.S. company, but one accident can reveal the whole setup was never legal, and suddenly you, the driver, are holding the bag. So here's how these companies stay alive. When the FMCSA finally catches on to one of these outfits, usually after an accident or a compliance review, they just shut it down. And then they reopen a week later or a month later, same trucks, same drivers, new name, new DOT numbers. In trucking, we call it trucking whack-a-mole because the regulators can't keep up. This scam crushes honest American carriers. They underbid legitimate companies with cheap foreign wages, fake leases, and off-the-book payments. It drives down the rates, it floods the market, and it puts more unsafe equipment on the road. While you're out here paying real taxes and real insurance, they're playing paperwork ping pong between two continents. And every time they get away with it, the honest driver is the one paying the most heavy of prices. This isn't about being anti-foreign. I'm actually very against that. It's about being pro-American integrity. If you want to haul U.S. freight, that's fine, but you should follow the same U.S. laws, the same U.S. taxes, the same U.S. safety rules that everyone else has to. Because every time someone uses a fake company or an overseas dispatch to undercut the system, it's not just paperwork. It's stealing opportunity from honest drivers and family-owned carriers that actually have spent years keeping this country moving. You see, trucking built this nation. Every bridge, every grocery aisle, every gallon of fuel in your tank, the clothes on your children's backs. A truck driver put it there. But the people that are gaming the system, they're tearing that very foundation apart just to save a few cents per mile. It's time for drivers to speak up. Tag the FMCSA, tag your state reps, share your story, let them know, and demand real enforcement. Being a truck driver, the best thing that we can do is share all this information that we have. That's the beauty of having social media. Because if you keep staying quiet, these shell companies are going to keep multiplying, and the next driver left holding the bag, it very well could be you. We don't need handouts. We just need a level playing field. American truckers deserve the truth, the transparency, the protection that it's earned. Let's make sure people writing these laws knows what's happening out here on the ground. Because this isn't just about freight. This is our livelihood, our freedom, and our legacy.